Okay, we're ready. So, Dan, you joined Solana before the blockchain mainnet launch.
Yes.
So tell us what it was like. Why did you leave GSG and join the startup? And when did you get interested in blockchain and cryptocurrencies?
I have been interested and following along in blockchain and crypto since 2017. I only joined the Solana project full-time in 2019, shortly after the project was founded. At the time, I was working for a company called Qualcomm, and all of the original technical co-founders of Solana and most of the earliest engineers on Solana, all of us came from Qualcomm. Qualcomm's a big tech company. They make chips for mobile phones and mobile networks. And so a lot of us came with knowledge of distributed systems, because cellular networks, mobile networks are distributed systems at their core. And so Anatoly, myself, a number of other people, we all worked at Qualcomm. And Greg, one of the other original co-founders, and I worked together on a project for a few years at Qualcomm. And he took me out to lunch one day in 2018. And he said, hey, I've got this friend. His name's Anatoly. He's a super smart guy. He's got this idea for, a way that blockchain is going to change the world. And we're building a company around it. And the project is called Solana. So do you want a job? That was basically how I got my start. This was in the summer of 2018. And at the time, I actually said no. I turned him down, not because I wasn't interested. I was.
You have a good job, yeah.
Well, I was actually preparing to leave my job anyway. I was pursuing some other personal interests. I actually had a seasonal job down working, contracting under the U.S. government at a research facility in Antarctica. And I had wanted to do this for years and years and years, and it had finally come together. And right at the same time that I had that opportunity, this Solana opportunity came up. So I actually went and I worked down in Antarctica for many months, installing radio equipment in places all over the continent. It was an incredible adventure. And as soon as that contract finished in early 2019, I came back to the US and started with the Solana team at the time. There were about 10 or 12 people, and that was the whole of Solana at that time.
So, judging by the photo you showed on the conference, so Solana was literally a garage startup, right? So, what it was look like 12 people? Do you have some office, or it was literally garage?
Yeah, we had about 12 people when I joined. We had a small office at that time in San Francisco. I was living and still live in Colorado. We had about 4, maybe 5 people who all lived in Colorado. So we worked in our founder Greg's basement that first summer of 2019, and that's where I was working. That's where I got my start. Just working in his basement, taking breaks, playing foosball, and that's where we built the first validators. That's where we first figured out, what is the real hardware requirement? What are the performance characteristics of this network? The code base was still coming together at that time. The runtime wasn't fully built. The whole SVM that supports all the smart contracts today was basically a prototype. But processing early transactions, doing the super fast consensus that Solana is known for, these were the things that were functional at the time. And it was enough for us to figure out, okay, how fast can this technology really go? So we bought a bunch of computer parts, shipped them all to Greg's house, and spent a few months just tinkering, tried a bunch of different configurations, and eventually put 6 or 7 of these boxes together that had the right performance characteristics. And as I shared yesterday, we put them together. We put them in the back of my car and drove it over to a data center in the area and put them in the rack. And that was the first, physical production install of any Solana validators.
Cool. And how you feel today when you see how it grows?
Yeah,
it's so wild.
It's wild. It's incredibly humbling, to have gone from a time when I knew their first name of every single validator on the network, because we started, there were maybe 20, 30 validators.
Hey, why your validator not working?
Yeah, right. I would call individual people, right? Okay, I know the head of this one and this one and this one, and and the Restaking team was one of our very first validators. They're here in Ukraine. It's been incredibly humbling. Is really the only way I can say it. Solana today is over 5,000 nodes all over the planet, run by huge communities. I still do my best to stay connected with all of the different things that are happening, but the reality is the whole project, not just the validators and the network, but the ecosystem, the community, all of the developers, all of the integrations, all of the researchers and people that have differing opinions on what we should do and how we should advance the protocol.
A lot of feedback. Right?
So much is happening that it's almost impossible for any one person to track, and it's really taken on a life of its own. It's taken on several different lives of its own. And it's a community effort. It's a collective effort. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who plays a part and has helped
felt
make
something
this happen.
similar yesterday, because I remembered when we started the company with 2 people. And yesterday we have a conference with 2,000 people, top guys in the industry. It was so cool to feel. So I don't think there will be much people who don't know what is Solana, but I have a great chance to ask CEO of Solana Foundation, what is Solana? So can you make us a CEO pitch of Solana?
Sure. Solana is the most scalable blockchain on the planet. Solana was designed and still performs to be the singular place for mass adoption of blockchain-based technologies. This is due to Solana's high speed, low fees, and most importantly, a single global computer, a single shared state machine, which allows unlimited composability, interoperability between different applications, while also allowing isolation when desired between different applications, different fee markets, different types of computation, and without relying on things like sharding or L2s or things that fracture state and fracture the execution environment. Because of Solana's performance and the parallel execution engine that really underpins the runtime, the SVM, this positions Solana uniquely to be the most widely adopted and the highest performance blockchain on the planet.
And concerning the parallel execution, how does it work? And can this architecture be considered a killer feature of the project, like is the reason for the high TPS?
It is definitely a primary reason. There's, I think, if I were to say like kind of 2 main areas, and this is going to, at a very high level, Solana's consensus mechanism is unique. It's quite different from a lot of the EVM-based chains and projects. And the parallel execution engine basically allows the Solana runtime, which actually processes your transactions and figures out the outputs, to scale with hardware. So when you can run things in parallel, you can simply apply more cores, more CPU, and achieve greater parallelism over time. And this scaling with hardware, I think, is Solana's killer feature, because hardware always gets faster. Computers always get faster. Computers add more cores. We get more transistors per chip. We get faster internet. And all of these things will happen with or without Solana. As long as people on Earth still want to use the internet, and as long as Intel and AMD and NVIDIA continue to compete with one another, chips will always get faster and internet will always get faster. Because this is going to happen regardless, this means that Solana will always get faster and continue to scale.
Okay. NVIDIA should win the competition, I guess, in a few years. So you said yesterday on stage that Solana will get faster over time, simply because of the growth of the system processing power. So expand on that thesis. How do you make sense of that?
How to make sense that Solana will get faster over time?
Yeah.
Just like, if I sit here and tell you your internet will only get faster over time, right? It comes in bursts, right? But you remember however many years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we had dial-up. And when we had dial-up internet, it was all we knew. And the kind of things you could imagine doing on the internet were contained because you had never had, what we consider now fast internet. And so, we'd have static web pages and text-based email, and you couldn't imagine, Telegram bots or live navigation on Google Maps, or pump.fun or anything, right? Just internet-based apps. Similarly, there is a huge new new area for creative thinking as more and more people realize when you have effectively unbounded or continually growing performance of a blockchain, the kind of products and the kind of protocols and applications and services that you can even just think about building, it really opens up a huge design space.
So I heard an interview of Michael Saylor, and he was talking about Apple, Google, so these technologies, and he said that I invested because I understood that it's a technology that cannot be stopped. So it will be growing all the time, and it will make a digital transformation of what people get used to, like books, sales, and search, and so on and so forth. So the same with the internet, and I guess so.
Okay, so it's our 5th and final day here in Kyiv. Had a great day at the Incrypted Conference yesterday. Had one final meeting this morning, and now we are out at a barbecue with some of our friends from Incrypted and the Kumekathon team here in Ukraine. Going to just have some chats, wrap up the week, take a little break, and then finally have a couple hours of free time. We're going to take a little walk around the city. Haven't had much chance to explore. Been incredibly busy this week with a lot of meetings and events and talks. And then late tonight, we're going to start our return journey home, head back to Poland first, and then we'll fly back to the US.
Solana has always strived for high throughput, but in the past, the network has experienced frequent outages. Lately, they have been much less frequent. What were the downtime related to, and how did you solve this?
Yeah, it's no secret. The network has struggled under some load in the past. Certainly during the sort of the NFT craze in 2021 and 2022, there were a couple instances of network downtime. This is sort of a blessing and a curse, right? Downtime sucks. It sucks for everybody. It sucks for the users, the developers, and all the engineers. No question about it. It is,
a lot of memes like Solana working hours.
Yeah, right. You can meme it and FUD it all you want, but the reality is, no other production blockchain has seen the kind of transaction demand loads that Solana has, and there are times when we have had to learn in production that there are implementation bugs or limitations. What I think is most important to recognize is the challenges that Solana has faced have been due to really never seen before levels of demand and user demand and traction on any blockchain, and not reflective of architectural flaws or architectural limitations. Software is written by humans. Humans are imperfect. All software has bugs. And that's not an excuse. It is simply the reality. And the difference between fixing a implementation bug or an implementation limitation in the validator code is a manageable problem. It's a big problem, but it's a manageable problem, which is very different than saying, oh, the architecture was designed wrong. We need to rethink how the protocol works, right? That is not to say it was right or wrong, but this is sort of like what we saw with the merge on Ethereum, right? This was a major architectural shift, right? Ethereum moving from proof of work to proof of stake. It was years in the making. It rightly so, was hotly contested. It took, incredible amount of effort on the whole Ethereum community, because this was an architectural change to how the blockchain works. Solana, while there's lots of improvements and incremental things and little bugs that need fixing, the architecture does continue to scale, and we are only, continuing to increase reliability and performance on that path.
Let's see. Solana Labs talks a lot about new Firedancer from Jump Crypto. So tell us more about it. Why does the project emphasize the new client so much, and how does it help to increase TPS?
I think Firedancer is probably the most exciting project happening today on the Solana network at the actual blockchain level. Firedancer is a brand new validator for Solana. Today, the Solana network, there are two primary validators. There is the original validator, which was created by Solana Labs. That engineering team has, they left Solana Labs, they formed a new company called Anza. And so their validator is now called Agave, which is a fork of the original Labs client. So there's the Anza team, which maintains sort of their continuation of the original client. And then there's Jito, which is a sort of MEV-oriented validator. Now, Jito is a fork of the Agave client. The two code bases they share a majority of the same code and there's some minor differences. Firedancer is net new. The team at Jump, which is engineering Firedancer, they are rewriting the validator from the ground up in C, which is about as high performance, low level language as you can get. And
it's very stylish, you know. It's very stylish to make on C.
Yes. And Firedancer is hyper optimized for performance. The Solana architecture scales with hardware. The Solana architecture is incredibly performant. And that is different than looking at the existing validators today, which, when we launched the network 4 years ago, we didn't have smart contracts. We didn't have tokens. We didn't have NFTs. There weren't staking rewards. There are a lot of things that were added and built as the protocol was continuing to evolve. And as a result, there is, some amount of technical debt that naturally accumulates because this is production code. So anytime a new feature is added, it needs to be done extremely carefully. Firedancer has the benefit right now of having zero technical debt. And so they can look at all of the things that work well, all of the implementations that could use cleanup or rework and rebuild it from scratch. It looks at the lowest level of the hardware. How many cores does the machine have? How much memory does it have? What is the physical layout of the core so that movement of data on the machine takes the shortest physical path from one CPU core to a memory register to an SSD to the network card. There is no project in crypto that I'm aware of that takes this level of hardware optimization so seriously. The number of bottlenecks that they've removed simply from implementation challenges and their hardware optimizations provides tremendous overhead in the capacity of this new validator running on the same type of machine that today's validators running Anza or Jito use.
And when will Firedancer go live?
I'm hoping that we see Firedancer, an early rollout of Firedancer to mainnet sometime later this year in 2024.
Okay. And what percentage of validators do you expect to switch to the new software, and how important it's for this percentage to be high?
I think the sort of responsible way to manage this from the validator community is to really have a phased rollout. Everybody's really excited about Firedancer, and that's great. And I think I'm really looking forward to a successful launch by this team. And this is the software that runs the whole blockchain. And so if there is some unforeseen issue, validators need to know either that they're running a backup node with the existing Anza validator so that they could readily fall back if they have a local issue, or if there is a broader issue, something to do with the Firedancer integration, that we don't have 90% of all the validators on day one just say, screw it, we're Firedancer nodes now. There's some operational learnings that they'll need to do. Validators have years of experience running the Solana Labs software. Firedancer, there's different commands to use, there's different configurations to use. The way they do logging and debugging is a bit different. And so it would only be responsible for the validators to spend some time, learning how to drive this new machine on testnet or in a local net. And so we'll probably see a gradual sort of phasing up of the validator adoption over some number of months. Additionally, one of the other benefits to Firedancer, or really a second validator in general, this makes Solana the only other blockchain beyond Ethereum and Bitcoin to have a true second validator implementation. Multiple validators is a huge step function improvement in overall resiliency of the network. You have two sets of software written by two independent groups of people.
Real decentralization.
It's real decentralization, right? It's written in two different languages. There's two sets of dependencies, two different, even different compiler tool chains, right? In case there's some bug and some weird little C dependency or Rust dependency.
I see.
And this removes any single point of failure from the entire validator development and operational stack.
Sure. In January, Solana Labs introduced token extensions, a new token standard for Solana. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, token extensions are really exciting. This is a set of smart contracts that are deployed. They're live today in production on Solana mainnet. Previously, there was one token program on Solana that represented any fungible token. We call it the SPL token program. And it had basic functionality. You can mint, burn, and then of course create whatever tokens you want, and you can transfer it freely amongst any wallets. And if you wanted more advanced functionality from your tokens, you would need to write your own app, write your own smart contract, build whatever logic you want for your product. With token extensions, a lot of advanced token behaviors and logic come out of the box with a single smart contract. So when someone launches a token now, if they want to use token extensions, these are all completely optional. It's simply, you just add one flag on the command line or one argument to your, to your program where you create your token and say, I want to add this token extension, or I want to add that token extension. And just like that, just like adding it into a config file, you have additional functionality. So what kind of...
It's like an SDK, right?
Yes, very much like an SDK. And this dramatically reduces the engineering complexity for Solana smart contract engineers and Solana integrators that want to provide interesting services and logic. And so that people can just focus on the product, the user experience that they want to deliver, rather than focus on rebuilding all of this custom backend infrastructure.
Is token extension meant to replace the SPL standard, or it is more like extension for this standard?
It's an extension of the standard. It is a separate program on chain, but is a superset of all of the SPL token standard features. So anything you can do with SPL token, you can do with token extension and more. So all of the same commands and workflows that you could do with a traditional token, you can also do with an extended token. SPL token program and standard is not going anywhere. I expect that people to continue to use that for a very long time. And these things can happily coexist together on the network.
I see. Do I understand correctly that token extension can be the driver for the growth of stablecoin usage on Solana? And how important that a lot of liquidity will come to the network?
It's certainly possible. I think there's a number of stablecoin projects that are currently using Solana or are considering launching on Solana that want a certain degree of control over the stablecoin supply, the issuance, the transferability. With token extensions, the issuer of any particular token, whether it's a stablecoin or something else, has the ability to bake in certain logic. Now that could be seen as overly controlling, and so I wouldn't want something like this on a fully decentralized token like Sol, for example. But for certain things like a number of institutions, for example, that say, I want to make a stable coin, that we can use to do business-to-business settlement, right? From this bank to that bank, or from this vendor to this supplier. And I only want to make sure that we don't ever accidentally, send tokens to the wrong place, right? And so with token extensions, you have the ability to say, set a whitelist of addresses. You can do things like require a memo for financial auditing purposes, that every transfer has a memo. With the token hooks token extension, you have the ability to call any smart contract, arbitrary smart contract, anytime a token is transferred. So if I have a token that has a token hook and I simply send you one without connecting to an app or going to some third website, I just send you the token and the blockchain recognizes the transfer and executes some custom logic. So there's a lot of really interesting things. There's about 12 different token extensions. I won't describe all of them here, but it allows for a lot of really complex business logic. I could, but I will spare you the time. But it allows a lot of really complex business logic without complex engineering.
Let's see.
Okay, tell me, what are we cooking?
So we are cooking bogrech. It's a national Ukrainian soup, something like a borscht, but more hot. It's from Western Ukraine. So it consists of some meat and vegetables. And it's too hot because of paprika, a lot of paprika here. And also we will we'll cook some steaks for them and some vegetables for our women.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. This is the butter with some garlic and some like spices.
So it's gonna be a garlic butter.
Yeah, it's like a garlic butter for steaks.
Nice one.
You send you the like the smaller one. Never shot.
Next question is about MEV, is I'm pronouncing it correctly. So how critical is that for Solana and how do you plan to combat it?
Yeah, MEV is a tricky subject. I think there are forms of healthy MEV, there are forms of unhealthy MEV. As an overall concept, I don't think MEV is negative, is a bad thing. I think particularly in low liquidity environments where we see particularly with a lot of the meme coins, etc. There's opportunities where if someone tries to purchase something and they don't get what they expect, right, or they don't get what they ask for, what they're quoted, right, this is problematic. MEV is also a healthy arbitrage is also a form of MEV, right? If there is an imbalance of pricing between this DEX and that DEX, or a token pairing here and a token pairing there, just like in foreign exchange, someone should and does take that opportunity to rebalance and make sure that we have fair pricing. I think what we probably need is actually more more competitive MEV environment. This should ultimately keep the prices fairest and the fees lowest for the most people. No one is in a place to dictate what does or doesn't happen on the network. But where we start to see challenges is where there's a certain type of behavior that people want to do, and there's only one way to do it. And this can be exploitative or extractive until someone comes and figures a better way, and then they sort of naturally level each other out.
No, I see. How does the hype around meme tokens affect the Solana ecosystem on your point of view?
Yeah, I think meme coins are great in general. I don't want to see anybody in a situation where people are getting rugged or pump and dump or whatever, and I'm not saying yay or nay for any particular token, but meme coins represent a couple things. I think one, it's just people having fun, right? Solana is easy to use, it's fast, it's cheap. You want to mess around on pump.fun, with a couple dollars. That's your choice. Go have some fun. What meme coins are doing, and we saw this with the NFT craze a couple years ago when like all these PFP NFT projects were popping up, it really is like this fertile breeding ground of experimentation, right? What are the craziest things we can do with this new technology and its current level of performance? when NFT standards were first created, right, people didn't quite know what to do with it, and then a few places figured out how to do NFT marketplaces and PFP drops, and all of a sudden you had this crazy boom, and then everyone was doing everything with token gated stuff. Oh, you have to own this collection of NFT to get here. You have to have done this much volume in my meme coin to access more points, to do this, to do that. And while a lot of these are purely speculative games at this point, it's the place where, you know, this rampant experimentation is really accepted. And even if, you know, 99% of these ideas turn out to be not great ideas, the 1% could be the ones that really push the space forward. And so once some of this hype and craze calms down, you know, the best ideas float to the top, and we start to see like much more, you know, attractive, long-term, sustainable projects and new products.
Don't you feel like the meme coins are similar to Wall Street bets, like a protest against very hard technologies and all of that stuff? You know?
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's what people want to.
Yeah, this is what people want, right? And I think this is true of all of crypto, and meme coin, I think, really like, you know, turns this up to 11, where, you know, so many people, smaller investors, or just like normal folks that are working hard and trying to move forward in their own lives, feel so shut out from the opportunities afforded by the people, you know, in the traditional finance system, in, you know, kind of the Wall Streets of the world. And you know, people are like, I'll try anything, like, to get a shot, because I feel like I don't have a shot, right? Or I'm working so hard, and like there's all these opportunities, and they're always going to the same kind of people, right? But what about me? And so, you know, I think that does culturally drive some of this like very early speculation, and we saw it with NFTs a few years ago. We're seeing it with meme coins now. You know, people want a shot, and, you know, should their shot necessarily be in a total casino? Like, I would prefer not, you know, but I think this is, you know, the maybe immature place where it starts, because that's really the dream of crypto, is to make an accessible market for capital, for labor, for opportunity, for talent, to flow to, you know, the people that are willing to put in the effort and make the results.
But it's still true. It's sincere. So people don't promise something. There is a pump fund, for example. Yeah, I launch a meme token. You can buy it. You cannot. It's just your choice. You can try it. Win. Okay. Lose. Your problems.
Right.
Okay. What do you assess the restaking boom? So people talk that there has been a lot impact on Ethereum's community. So what about Solana? Are such protocol maybe threat to consensus?
What do I think about restaking?
Yeah. What do you think? And concerning Solana, is it good or bad for Solana?
I'm kind of like neutral on restaking for Solana. I think there are some ways where maybe this could be helpful. What I think maybe some people kind of fall into a little bit of thought trap is, you know, Ethereum has its design and has architecture and has its trade-offs and limitations. Solana has a different design and a different set of trade-offs and limitations. And as a result, like, the two architectures are not the same. And so when people say, oh, restaking is on Ethereum, it's for a particular set of reasons, that is not in itself a reason to say, oh, now we should do restaking on Solana. There's a number of things that, you know, Ethereum has done in their community and in their infrastructure to scale. Solana doesn't have these type of scaling challenges.
Your visit to Ukraine means so much for us, for Ukrainian community, and not only for us, but it's like a signal for all over the world that Ukraine is still here, is still standing. And so how did you make this decision to come to Ukraine? Because it's war, and maybe 60% of speakers say, no, thank you. Yeah. Let me know when the war will be finished.
Yeah.
So,
I think
you're a brave guy, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know, we had this conversation because we even had there were a number of other people from the foundation that were, you know, maybe considering also coming to Ukraine, that for maybe similar reasons were unable to, or you know, I had such fond memories of being here before, and I know it's.
You have a mental connection.
Yeah, so I do. I feel like it feels really good for me personally, you know, being here at the very beginning of Solana, and now it's such an important chapter in Solana's history. It feels like it's such an important chapter in Ukraine's history that you know, I really wanted to show up in person and meet everybody and remind them Ukraine is still here, our community is still here, and it's super important.
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
We have a present for you. I wanted to make it for the camera.
Thank you.
So I get presents for you.
All right, thank you.
So this is kept encrypted, which means that you're always welcome in Ukraine, and our team appreciate for your comment. It's so important for us. This, I hope that will never happen to Solana. And this is, I think that I wish that most people feel when Solana goes to all-time high.
All right.
And
thank you so much.
this is also our merch. So it's fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I think that you're a very experienced person in crypto and very smart, but always do your own research.
Right on.
Whatever you do.
Awesome.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
coming.
much. Yeah. Come to Ukraine. I'm so incredibly grateful for our community here, the Solana community and the broader community. I just want to say thank you so much to Kumeka team for helping to organize this trip, helping to make this happen. Thank you to Incrypted for an amazing event yesterday, for all of your support. We had a really beautiful goodbye lunch this afternoon, some local barbecue with our friends from Kumeka and the Solana team. They gave us some really thoughtful, beautiful goodbye gifts. It really means so much to me. And I just can't wait to see you all again. So thank you, Kyiv. Thank you, Ukraine.